Welcome to Your Iconic Image. If you want to take control of your image and be a power player in your space, then this is the show for you. Here we will arm you with tools and information to help you grow your brand on purpose. I'm your host, Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Now let's dive into today's episode. Chukky Okobi is an 8-year veteran of the NFL and a Super Bowl winner with his hometown Pittsburgh Steelers. Today, he's an emotional intelligence and integrative psychology professional, guiding other ambitious leaders and entrepreneurs to recognize that success is simple if you know the basic instructions of mind mastery. Welcome, Chukky.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So you have done something that not a lot of people will ever have the opportunity to do, and that's win an actual Super Bowl. But I have heard you say that we all have our own version of the Super Bowl and that we can win that and we can attain the success that we desire. So talk to us about all that.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's just really interesting when I think about it because, I mean, I meet new people all the time, you know, working with clients all over the globe, and people always are curious and wondering, like, when they first meet me, you know, what would that feel like for me to win the Super Bowl? But what they're not necessarily aware of is that it's a feeling that you're already intimately familiar with. I mean, just think back in those memories that, you know, gave you those butterflies, you know, that feeling of excitement in your stomach. I mean, made your pulse race. And you hear your heartbeat pounding in your ears. I mean, you see those things now, things that took you to levels of fulfillment and excitement and satisfaction that felt so right. It almost feels wrong. And that feeling right there, if you can just envision that feeling right there, that's what it feels like to win the Super Bowl. And the thing is, just like I used to tell my teammates in college, if you can see that in your mind right now, if you can see it, then you can be it. So just imagine experiencing that type of satisfaction in your marriage. Just imagine feeling that type of, you know, pure fulfillment in your business or your career, in your relationship with your higher power, in your relationships with your friends and family. That's what we're talking about. So it's, you know, even though you've never played sports before in your life, we're talking about Super Bowl level success. Now, everyone's got their ideal picture and vision of success. You know, it just so happens that for me, for a long time as a kid, going from age 7 until age 22, when I got drafted, that was my ultimate goal. It just happened to be the Super Bowl. But for everybody else, you know, if somebody's playing hockey, then winning a Stanley Cup might be their Super Bowl victory. If you're a physicist, then winning a Nobel Prize might be their Super Bowl victory. So for each and every person, it's about determining, when I think about it, what is the best possible experience I can imagine for myself? That's your Super Bowl. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. And you had said along the way that your ideas were clearly defined. You had mentioned to me once that you had 2 goals. One was to go home to Pittsburgh and the other one was to play in the NFL. And so how important is it to us to clearly define what that goal is?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, when I talk about basic instructions, and it is more than just a title or an LLC, according to the IRS. And, you know, that's actually basic instruction number 2. You know, and I'll go over all 4, and come back to number 1 here in a minute. But we'll start with basic instruction number 2. And that is decide on your specific desired outcome. Now, as a mental performance coach for entrepreneurs, VCs, former and current professional athletes, and entrepreneurs in general, you know, one of the big things I run into with clients when they first come and we get together for a discovery call, so I can get to a little bit deeper into what exactly it is that they're looking to change in their life. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard this verbatim from different people, black, white, candy stripe, men, women. I've heard it over and over. Is I'll say to them, okay, we're here together having this discussion. So, you know, I'm just curious as to what it is you want to accomplish. And the repeated answer I hear all the time is, I know exactly what I don't want, but I have no clue what I do want. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from people. And, you know, to me, it goes back to, you know, being an emotional expert. it tells me there's some things going on at a deeper level that are leading them to, stay focused on what they don't want, to the point that they haven't even considered what they want. They're just so focused on avoiding that pain, so, it's like the great motivational speaker. We all know him here in this personal development space, Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite quotes. And he said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up somewhere else. So yeah, it's that important to know exactly what you want. So like, for example, a lot of people may have a goal of getting in better physical shape or improving their socioeconomic position, getting a raise or moving into a more lucrative position in a different company. And so I said, great. So, what exactly is it you want? And some people might say, well, I just want to make more money. Basic instruction number 2, decide on your specific desired outcome. So if you want more money, all right, I got a quarter right here. That'll be $1,500. That's my fee. You said you wanted more money. I got you a quarter. Is that not more money? Well, that's not really what I meant. Well, basic instruction number 2, what is your specific desired outcome? And so, yeah, growing up, I, at a very young age, there was a lot of unrest in my house. My parents didn't really get along and it was just chaotic. And I always wanted to just not be there, and this is at a very early age. So I would go outside all the time to play, and, my mom kept me involved in sports, especially baseball, which was actually my first goal, was my first specific desired outcome, was to play for the Pirates. But it's something I didn't quite make. And, I had this football thing to fall back on. So I was okay. But here's the thing. I found sports and I found my male role models in my coaches. The men who showed me what it was like to be a successful human being. And, it just felt good to feel like a valued member of the team. And so for a lot of people who don't think that, because if they were in my position, their goals might be about the glitz and the glamour to be in that Patrick Mahomes type position, be that guy on television, But for me, it was more of an emotional and spiritual journey. And that playing baseball and playing football, that was the place where I felt the most self-worth, felt the best about myself. And I decided at age 7, if I could just play sports the rest of my life, because I'm 7 years old, so I think I could play the rest of my life. But, it's 7 years old. It's like, if I could just do this the rest of my life, God, I would really, really love life. I would love who I was, and I would really feel good about the value I'm bringing to the world. And so that was really where, at age 7, where sports and I got married. And after my parents split and we moved around a lot, I went to 6 schools before high school. And I was always kind of on the outside looking in. When you're the new kid all the time, there's going to be some time there in the beginning, maybe a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, where you're kind of observing, finding out what's acceptable, what's not. We're talking about middle school here, what's cool and what's not. And so I just wanted to go home. Because to me, from being born in Pittsburgh and spending those first 7, 8 years of life in Pittsburgh, to me, that was home. So I had this vision in my mind of who I was going to be and the value I was going to bring to the world as an athlete. And I knew that after all the dust settled on my adolescence and my teenage years, and I was finally an adult, I was going to go back to Pittsburgh. And so I kept those 2 specific desired outcomes in my mind. I mean, it was like a vinyl record spinning around in the back of my head. Even at times when I consciously forgot about it, it was always there. And so because I stayed focused on that desired outcome of becoming a professional athlete and going home to Pittsburgh from age 7 all the way to age 22 when I was drafted, I got the specific desired outcome I wanted. And so that's a lot of, that journey is where the whole basic instructions concept really comes from. So
walk us through, since that's number 2, bring us back to the beginning. Tell us what 1, 3, and 4 are.
Okay. I'll give them to you in order, and I will go over number 2 again, but it'll be abbreviated because we got a preview.
Mm-hmm.
Basic instruction number 1. And before I even get into that, let me just say the basic instructions, there's 4 basic instructions, and it's like a recipe, like if you were baking a cake.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do them in order.
Okay.
You cannot skip any of them, because just imagine if you bake the cake and you skip the flour. Nobody wants that cake. So here's the thing. You got to do all 4 basic instructions in order, and you can't leave any of them out.
Okay.
In order for this to work the way it did for me.
Mm-hmm.
So basic instruction number 1, let go of the past. And it sounds like a very simple concept because conceptually it is simple. It can seem challenging for those that don't know the basic instructions of how to do it. But we're talking about letting go of the past completely and, without a shadow of a doubt, leaving that behind. And so let me spend a little bit more time on basic instruction number 1, because actually this is really my wheelhouse, my area of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about the way our human minds work. When you think about it, we have 2 types of thinking as human beings. Like if you've ever heard the saying, we only use 10% of our minds. A lot of people heard that. It's BS. We use 100%. Then why would God give us all this mind if it's just there dormant,
taking up space? Yeah.
Yeah. It's just benign. It's just some mass inside my skull. Like, doesn't make any sense. We use 100%. It's just that there's 2 types of human thinking, and it's about a 10%, 90% split. You have a conscious mind, and you have the unconscious mind. Or some people, you might hear it called subconscious. I call it your unconscious mind. So the conscious mind, just imagine a picture of a little girl, right? Maybe she's 3 or 4 years old enough to talk and understand what's going on in the world, but still a pretty small human, right? Mm-hmm. And imagine she has a pet, and her best friend, she has a dog. Beautiful, beautiful Great Dane, right? She loves this dog now, but she's a 3-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. And this is a 160-pound Great Dane, but it's a big, strong dog. I mean, this thing's got muscles, but it's a big dog like Scooby-Doo or Marlana. This loves her, it would never hurt her in a million years. So think about this. That little girl, that little human is your conscious mind. She's got the leash. She's in control. She makes the decisions as to what games we're going to play. If we're going to play, rocket ship, or if we're going to play princess today, that's all the conscious decisions. She does what we're going to do. This dog is a lot bigger and stronger than her, but it's a dog. It doesn't think in complex ways. It's pretty smart. Dogs are smart, but it doesn't think in the complex ways that this little human does.
Right.
That dog, that Great Dane, is your unconscious mind. When we talk about 2 types of thinking, little girl, conscious mind, the dog, unconscious mind. Mm-hmm. She's got the leash, so they're together. They're always together, right? It's her best friend. So here's the thing. The conscious mind is your everyday thinking, the complex thinking. It can do math. It can do multiplication, division. It can make plans about the future. All these different things that dogs and other animals in nature typically don't do. This is a human thing. That's the conscious mind. And that's the 10% that you're aware of. So your unconscious mind, the dog, think about that as the animal mind. We got the human mind, the animal mind. That mind is in charge of all of your instincts, your feelings, and it has the most important job to your existence, and that is to keep you alive. So think about, when we talk about your unconscious mind, think about in this moment right now, 10:50 a.m. here in Kansas City on, April 12th, 2021, what's keeping your heart beating? Because you're not consciously controlling it.
Right.
What's keeping the blood circulating through your veins? How are you digesting your food? How do you maintain your breathing when you're sleeping or keep your eyes blinking? These are all things we're all doing right now, but we can't say that we're controlling it or consciously aware that these things are happening, because that's the job of the unconscious. That's the job of the dog. So here's the thing. anything we're not consciously controlling in our existence is the job of the unconscious mind. That's why it's 90% of your thinking. You don't have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to worry about what you have to worry about in the conscious mind. The unconscious mind takes care of everything else. So when you think about functions and things that happen, experiences that we have that we don't consciously control, we're talking about emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about emotions. And the thing is, this dog is so big and strong. That unconscious mind is so powerful. The human mind is the most powerful force in all of nature. So that mind is so powerful. It remembers everything that's ever happened to you. I used to say since you were born, but since you were conceived.
Mm.
Every experience that you have that has any type of emotion attached to it, it's still in there. And that can be an issue depending on what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine, I always like to illustrate how we hold on to those emotions in our unconscious mind. It's like envision your unconscious as like this long hallway. Or sometimes I think of it like a college dorm. So it's a long hallway with all these doors on either side, right? And each door's got a label on it, right? So this is how we store our emotional memories. So on this side of the hall, on the left side, on my left side of the hall, you have this room here and it's got a label on it and it says happy. And the next door down, it has a label on it that says grateful. Next door down is a label on it that says love, right?
Mm-hmm.
All emotions that feel really good. So every time you've ever felt this emotion we call happy, from the first time you ever felt it as a baby, that first sip of coffee this morning, right? What the dog thinks is these feel the same. And so they take those happy memories and put them in the happy room. Every time you feel grateful, it goes in the grateful room. Every time you feel love, it goes in the love room. So here's the thing about emotions. There's no such thing as good or bad. There's positive and there's negative. So out here on this side of the hallway, I got a room and it says angry. And I got a room next to that and it says fear. And I got a room next to that and it says guilty. So every single time in my entire life since I was conceived that I felt this emotion that we call angry, from the first time somebody took my toy away, so when somebody cut me off on a highway the other day, the dog says, same. And you take those angry memories and they go in the anger room. You take those fearful memories, they go in the fear room. You take those ones that make you feel guilty, they go in the guilt room. Here's the significance of these rooms. Whichever room has the most stuff in it, to create what I call an emotional filter through which you engage your world.
Wow.
So imagine looking, like if I'm looking out this window right now, I can see the tree, right? I can see it clearly. I can see the sky, some clouds. I can see the grass. But what I can't see is the glass itself. And that glass metaphorically represents your emotional filter through which you see your world. A lot of us think we're seeing things the way they are, but you're not. You're seeing it through the lens of how you feel. And it skews every interpretation and perception of what you experience. And so when we talk about these rooms here on this side of the hall, we have 5 negative emotions and that's it.
Okay.
Any other word's going to fall under one of these headings. There's 5: anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. So any other words you can think of is going to fall under that. So if you say I'm disappointed, that's in the sadness room. You know, if I'm irritated, that's in the anger room. You know, if I'm disappointed in someone else, that's probably in the hurt room. But you can call it what you want. It's going to be in these 5 rooms. And there's one other room that there's a jukebox in that room. But it's an old jukebox. It's got vinyl records in it. You know, for anybody who's old enough to remember vinyl records. And in that room is what, you know, in that jukebox is what I call limiting beliefs, greatest hits. And so when the record comes out and it hits that turntable and the needle hits the record and it starts spinning around and you hear those lyrics start, and you know it's limiting beliefs, greatest hits when the lyrics sound like, I can't, I'm not, I just don't want that. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. Like that's limiting belief, greatest hits. So basic instruction number one. I know you probably forgot what I was talking about. Basic instruction number one. I got to clean every one of these rooms out completely for my entire life before we get into anything. Because all of the stuff in these rooms is what we call emotional baggage.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime you go through your life and you felt hurt, disappointed, less than, you got picked last for dodgeball in gym class in second grade, you collect what I call a black bag. And so every time my feelings gets hurt, I got teased up, black bag, take that, carry it with you, go about your life. And then something else happens. Somebody makes fun of you because of your hair or because you're a different color or because you're a different gender, you get another black bag. And so every single time this happens, you get this black bag, throw it in the room. Black bag, throw it in these rooms. Black bag. And you're carrying these and you're carrying them along your journey in life, right? And when you get enough of these, you know, after you've been stood up for the dance or had enough crummy dates or sick of going from job to job, each time you carry these, you've got so many black bags. They went from this and they turn into this.
Mm.
And I'm walking around like, Marlana, look at me. Look what happened to me. This is my story. You're not even helping me. You know how heavy this is? And you're looking at me like, just put it down. I'm like, but this is who I am. Mm. Basic instruction number one, let go of the past. That's number one. We can't do shit. Excuse my language. We can't do anything until we do that.
Got it.
That's my wheelhouse. That's what I help people do. Is clear that out. I've helped people with PTSD. I had a client 2 years ago who had a phobia for over 60 years that we got rid of in 15 minutes.
Wow.
These are going to slow you down. It's just, it's not helping you. So that's basic instruction number one, is we have to release all of the negative emotional baggage, all of the limiting beliefs. Thoughts like I can't and I'm not are not useful.
Right.
You know, you might feel that way in this moment, then we got to change the way you feel, period. Basic instruction number one, let go of the past. Now we've put all that down. We've let go of the past. We're feeling light. We're feeling good. Now we get to basic instruction number two, deciding your specific desired outcome. That Super Bowl level success, that idea you have in your mind. And the reason we got to do it in order is this 1 and 2 are the best illustration of why you want to follow these in order. Mm-hmm. If I'm looking at my future through the lens of my past, the baggage, the emotional filters, right? And let's say my fear room is really jammed with a lot of stuff. You know, maybe I've lost out on some investments or I've had some bad relationships. And so that fear is going to be the filter through which I look at this. Mm-hmm. And because I'm feeling afraid and hesitant, instead of setting the bar high, that'll give me that Super Bowl feeling, that fear makes me set it down here.
Got it.
And then what happens is you're going to hit that goal and feel disappointment because it didn't feel the way you thought it would. And then that disappointment goes into the room and things get worse. So basic instruction number one first, get rid of all the baggage. Then let's talk about what we want to do. So then you can get that vivid image of your Super Bowl level success and write that story any way you want. No limitations of what happened. Write that story. Now we know exactly where we're going. The way I work as a mental performance coach, the way I always explain this to the clients is I'm just a GPS. There is no Wizard of Oz. Remember, you saw the movie. So because if I had a magic wand that could fix your problem, I would charge a lot more money. So here's the thing. You need to tell me where you want to go. And then I'm going to do everything I can to get you from where we are to where you want to be as quickly and easily as possible.
Got it.
But the client, you got to tell me where you want to go. I can't tell you what's going to make you happy. Only you know that. No one's felt your joy. No one's felt your pain but you. We've let go of the past. We're feeling light. We're feeling good. Then we decide our specific desired outcome. Great. Now, basic instruction number 3. Take the necessary actions that will make that specific desired outcome come true. Pretty black and white, pretty cut and dry. It's why we call it basic instructions. So, it reminds me of Don Harold. And Don Harold was a cartoonist from early 20th century, wrote for a lot of magazines and newspapers all over the country. And he gave my favorite quote of all time. And what he said is, unhappiness is not knowing what you want and killing yourself to get it. How many of us are getting up every morning, it's dark outside, packing lunches, doing everything you got to do, getting to the factory or the office or to the site early? You've already drank 3 cups of coffee and you're still tired. And you spend all day breaking your back or just racking your brain doing your job, really not enjoying it. And at no point in time, think about this, at no point in time have you ever thought is, what is all of these days I'm putting in adding up to? Unhappiness is not knowing what you want and killing yourself to get it. So now that we've let go of the past, we're feeling good, we're feeling light, we know exactly what we want, it's easy to determine what the necessary actions are. And again, doing the basic instructions in order. If I don't know what I want, how do I know what to do? So that's why we got to follow these in order. We let go of the past, number 1. Number 2, we know exactly what we want. Number 3, we now know what the necessary actions are, and we're ready and willing to take those actions. Great. All that's left is basic instruction number 4, and that is focus until. And a lot of people, I imagine, might be wondering, focus until what? Focus until that Super Bowl level experience is your reality. And depending on what it is you want to do is going to determine how long it takes to get there, how long you need to focus. So could take 7 weeks, could take 7 years, could take 7 generations. Now, depending on what it is, the question you got to ask yourself is, can I focus until? And a lot of times, focus until, even to simplify it even more, is following basic instruction 1, 2, 3 over and over and over and over until there. Because what's going to happen is you're going to go be moving along your path, and there's going to be things that happen that make you feel like this side of the hall. People are going to pass. There's going to be opportunities that didn't come to fruition. People are going to say things and do things to you directly and indirectly, that the emotions that come along with those experiences are going to belong in these negative rooms. And that's okay. It's expected. The thing is, going all the way back, we've been carrying these and keeping them. It's about learning the mental and emotional disciplines so that you can experience this, look at it and say, that sucks. I don't need that. Keep going. That's basic instruction number 4, is learning how to do that. Letting that go, getting refocused on what it is that I'm here. Why did I get up this morning? If things come along that seem to be a block in some way from getting me to where I want to go, then I may have to recalibrate and decide on new necessary actions. Basic instruction number 3. And then once I've got to that point, it's just get back to focus and keep going. Keep doing those necessary actions. Keep taking those necessary actions. Keep working the mental and emotional disciplines so that these things don't build up. And you can continue to feel, what the ancient Hawaiians used to call pono, which is this inner harmony, satisfaction with who they are in their minds and in their hearts, and also having this bond, this natural bond in alignment with the world they live in and everyone else in it. No conflicts inside, no conflicts outside. And that's a lot of the things that I do to help to get, executives and startup founders to that place, because there's a lot of pressure on a lot of people. I mean, like the people that you photograph all the time. Somebody just just got their AC for their company that they're founding, and somebody just handed you $15 million. All of a sudden, that there may be emotional baggage around money,
Right.
and then all of a sudden they start to feel pressure. Oh my God, I just don't want to mess this up.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm enough. You know who they sound like? Scarecrow, Tin Man, Lion. And if you remember the movie Wizard of Oz, those characters weren't real.
Mm-hmm.
All in Dorothy's head. That's how she felt. The whole time she had the power, and all she had to do was go home.
Mm-hmm.
But she's too busy. She's jamming out to Limiting Beliefs greatest hits. I can't. I'm not. So no. We got to quiet that. We did that at basic instruction number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is really the whole basic instructions process. So, we've talked about it in the vein of entrepreneurship, and you have getting to your Super Bowl level result. Just understand that when you think about my Super Bowl level result, which was actually earning a Super Bowl championship, these are the 4 basic instructions I follow.
Mm.
And so a lot of people will ask me like, oh, you got drafted by your hometown team. Man, that's incredible. And you won the Super Bowl and stayed in the NFL 8 years. Man, that must have been hard. It was actually easy. I worked really hard, but it was easy to do when you're feeling pono the whole time. Mm-hmm. Not worrying about worst case scenarios, not doubting your ability to do it. I mean, hell, they drafted me. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the experts think I can play. So any story about I can't or I'm not is self-inflicted. Mm-hmm. So you think about your clients and people who make excuses about their situation, saying, oh, I have anxiety, like that's something you picked up at 7-Eleven.
Right. Right.
I have anxiety. I have imposter syndrome. And then you write 2 million posts online to get everybody else who feels like you do to tell you what they're doing. You sound like Dorothy asking all the little people, I can't get home. What should I do? Come on, man. We have to get out of our stories. And what we have to really get in touch with is the fact that our entire life actually is just stories. Mm. So think about this. When a client comes to me, they're feeling mentally stuck or emotionally blocked. And I'll say, okay, it's great that we're talking, at least from my standpoint, because I now have an opportunity to help you.
Right.
But I imagine that you're here because you're not feeling so great. So tell me what it is that brings us here today. And then what they do is they tell me a story from some point in the past all the way up till right now. Mm-hmm. It's okay. I got it. I have a feeling for where you're at. Now, what would you like to experience instead in the future? And then they tell me a story from this point to some point in the future. But stay with me, because all that stuff from the past isn't real. It came out of those rooms. It came out of their memory. Mm-hmm. Story. And that vision they have for their Super Bowl success, it's not real either. It's a story they took out of their imagination. The only thing that's real is right now. And so it's about, what are my disciplines? What are my habits of thought? What are my natural emotional cycles? And what are the things that happen in my experience that trigger me to believe that I'm angry? To trigger me to believe that I can't. It's we need to retrain the dog. Mm. And so in a lot of ways, what I do with basic instructions, I see myself like Caesar Milan. Mm-hmm. Like I know how to talk to this dog. And it's just a matter of teaching that 3-year-old kid how to get the dog to heel. Follow them instead of going off on its own. And that's what basic instruction is all about. So when we think about getting your Super Bowl level success, the first question I would start with is, how well have I trained this dog? Because it's a big dog, and if it sees a squirrel and we don't have it under control, it's going to be a long afternoon. You know?
Absolutely. I love all of this. And I know that in your program, when you work with clients and all, there are so many other nuances to all of this, and things go so much deeper with all this. But I'm just going to leave them with what you've given them so far today, and they can contact you for the rest.
Yeah, that works. Basicinstructions.com, or I'm kind of partial to LinkedIn, and there's not a lot of people out there with my name. So just put my name in the search and you'll find me. So.
Perfect. So I just have 4 final questions for you then, Chukky. First one is, what's the best piece of advice you were ever given?
The best piece of advice I was ever given is learn to make forgiving a habit.
Nice.
Learn to make that, replace the record I can't, I'm not, with that record. That I forgive you, please forgive me. And then that makes it easy to let go of anything you see as an indiscretion or things that weren't fair, or just, I forgive you, please forgive me. Heal up that energetic connection to that situation from the past. That way you can cut it off and move forward and not collect many of these. That's the best prevention to accumulation of black bags is forgiveness. So I would say that's the best advice I was given.
So next thing, and I know in your world, you would probably word this a little bit differently, but we're going to go with what I ask everybody. And that's what's the next thing on your bucket list?
Next thing on my bucket list? That's a great question. Well, bucket list there's certain things like, skydiving, jumping out of a plane. That's really fun. And you have other things that you just feel like they're maybe your purpose here on planet Earth. Like, this is something I need to do. As opposed to something, when I think bucket list, I think of what I want to do, which is like things like jump out of a plane, or, go to Maldives and just hang out on the beach for a week and things like that. But when I think about what I need to do or I'm done on this planet, first thing comes to mind is basic instructions. And what my ultimate goal is with teaching people about how much power and control they actually do have over their results. And so a lot of, being an emotional specialist and being an expert in cleaning out all those rooms, getting rid of those records, my ultimate goal is to shine a spotlight to the human race that the real pandemic is self-doubt. That's really what, afflicts the human race right now. That's what's keeping us feeling the way we are, like there's something wrong in our world. And I know that if we can learn the disciplines to keep those rooms clear, to stay focused on what we do want, as opposed to playing those old records, I can't, I'm not, I don't want, enough of that. If we can just get the human population to see that way of thinking as just commonly accepted, a lot of the issues we're dealing with right now in 2020, 2021, they won't exist for future generations. And so that's what I like to do is cure the human race of self-doubt, self-loathing, depression, anxiety. Like, it's like you just have a virus in your mainframe, in your computer. Like, let's get that out so that it functions the way it wants to.
Love that. Next one. When the toy companies get around to making an action figure of you, what 2 accessories will it come with?
It will come with a book that the doll has, and it will come with a compass. Perfect.
And one more time, Chukky, how do people find you?
Basicinstructions.com. And remember, basic instructions, plural. Or find me LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. The way my name's spelled here is the way you'll find it. And I'm sure you can imagine there's not a lot of people out there with that name. So on any social media platform, put my name in, you'll find me.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thanks for being here.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Please comment, like, or share this episode, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more information on how I can help you create your iconic image, visit marlanasemenza.com.